The Defiant Dawn emerged from hyperspace with all the subtlety of a supernova, its hull scarred by battles fought across a dozen star systems. Commander Zia Patel stood on the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the tactical display that showed the assembled might of the galactic Concordat. Over 300 warships arranged in perfect formation around the neutral station of Kepler's Rest. "They're not exactly rolling out the welcome mat," muttered Lieutenant Elsa Anderson from her position at the communications console, her blonde hair pulled back in regulation style despite the urgency of their situation. Zia allowed herself a grim smile. "Did you expect them to? We're the species that refused to kneel. 3 months ago, humanity had been nothing more than a footnote in the Concordat's vast database, a primitive species confined to a single system, barely worth the fuel needed to subjugate them. The Concordat had sent a standard compliance fleet, 12 heavy cruisers and twice as many support vessels. It should have been a routine occupation. Instead, they had awakened something that the galaxy hadn't seen in 1,000 years, a species that fought back. The first human ship had been little more than a converted mining vessel, cobbled together with salvaged weapons and powered by desperation. It had somehow destroyed 2 Concordat cruisers before being atomized. Then came the second wave, a dozen ships that shouldn't have been spaceworthy, crewed by beings who shouldn't have understood faster-than-light combat. They had torn through the occupation fleet like wolves among sheep. "Incoming transmission from the Concordat flagship," Elsa reported, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "It's Admiral Vextar himself." On screen. The bridge's main display flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Admiral Vextar, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming with ceremonial plates that marked his victories across 100 worlds. Behind him stood representatives of a dozen species, all united in their certainty of Concordat superiority. Commander Patel of the Terran vessel. Vextar's translation matrix rendered his clicks and hisses into cold, precise words. "You will stand down immediately and prepare to be boarded. Your species' unprovoked attacks on Concordat forces constitute an act of terrorism that cannot—" "Unprovoked?" Zia's voice cut through the transmission like a laser through armor plating. "You invaded our system. You demanded our surrender. You threatened to bombard our colonies from orbit if we didn't submit to your benevolent rule. Which part of that sounds unprovoked to you, Admiral?" The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. Around the galaxy, 1,000 species held their breath. No one spoke to the Concordat like that. No one survived speaking to the Concordat like that. Vextar's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Your defiance is noted, human. It changes nothing. You are one ship against an armada. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift." "Counter-proposal," Zia said, stepping closer to the screen. "You turn your fleet around and leave human space permanently. And maybe, just maybe, we don't do to the rest of the galaxy what we did to your occupation. Force." The Admiral's compound eyes glittered with malice. "Empty threats from a dying species. You have no allies, no resources, no hope. What could one ship possibly—" He never finished the sentence. Elsa's console erupted with proximity alarms as space around them began to shimmer. One by one, human vessels dropped out of hyperspace. Not the ramshackle conversions they had expected, but sleek warships that hummed with barely contained power. 50 ships, Elsa reported, her voice barely above a whisper. "No, wait, 100? 200. Her eyes went wide. "Commander, I'm reading over 500 human vessels." The Defiant Dawn hadn't come alone. It had come with the entire human fleet. Ships built in the shadows of Earth's asteroid belt, crewed by beings who had spent their whole lives preparing for this moment. Every mining station, every research outpost, every human settlement had contributed to this armada. You wanted to know what one ship could do? Zia's smile was sharp as broken glass. "Let me show you what 500 can accomplish." The human fleet moved as one, their formation a masterpiece of coordinated aggression. They had studied every Concordat battle for the past century, analyzed every weakness, exploited every gap in their tactics. Where the Concordat fought with overwhelming force and rigid discipline, humanity brought chaos and innovation. Human ships danced through particle beams that should have vaporized them, their hulls coated with metamaterials that bent light and confused targeting systems. They struck from impossible angles using gravitational slingshots and micro-jumps that no other species had ever attempted in combat. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, Admiral Vextar's flagship was a drifting hulk, and over half the Concordat fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The survivors fled in disorder, carrying with them tales that would spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity, the species that had been dismissed as primitive savages, had not just won a battle. They had shattered the myth of Concordat invincibility. "Status report," Zia commanded, settling back into her captain's chair. "Minimal casualties on our side," Elsa replied, still stunned by what they had accomplished. "The Concordat forces are in full retreat." "Good." Zia studied the tactical display where human ships were already moving to secure the station and tend to the wounded. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them the galaxy knows our name now." As the defiant dawn turned toward home, leaving the broken remnants of the Concordat fleet behind, one thought echoed through the minds of every being who had witnessed the battle. Humanity had arrived and nothing would ever be the same. The war for galactic freedom had begun.